Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and it's 12 midnight on the dot. I just found on YouTube music that you can use on your videos. I found a 30-minute video, 30-minute free recording that I can just credit on the description tag, and I can use this music. It seems really nice. I felt inspired by the Holy Spirit to stay up tonight, which is good. I like staying up. I just want to share with you, I want to go through my relationship with Cindy, the girl I'm dating. So I first found out about a sugar daddy website, which is where older men can pay for the company of young women. Men in their 40s, 50s can pay for 18 and 20 and 22, 25-year-old girls to date them. I read a good article somewhere, I was reading on a blog or something. The guy had done some really good social justice work, and it says he was the CEO and owner of a sugar daddy website where older men date younger women. Holy Spirit said, bang, go there. So I went there. Holy Spirit said, sign up. I spent a month in their membership, and they were just had a 25-year addiction to prostitution. I wanted to come out of that. I wanted a friend. I wanted a cheaper friend. At the time, I was paying $500 for an hour with this escort that was 20. It was just too much money to be paying for coffee. And if she worked privately, not for an escort agency, she could charge $250 for an hour, and that's a lot, but still a lot better than a $650 an hour rate for sex and $500 for coffee. And I wanted to explore these girls and see if I could get the rate even cheaper. I stayed there for a month, but the girls on this site or seeking arrangement were like true professional, hardcore, and even worse than professional escorts with the attitude. They just seen men as an easy mark, and they just wanted to rip them off. There was two sorts of arrangements. One where you could pay them $2,000 a month, or $1,000 a week, and they'd beat up with you twice a week, and you could do whatever you like. Or one where you'd pay $500 or $200 or whatever pre-arranged meeting price, and pay per time you meet them. Most of the girls on the professional seeking arrangement wanted $1,000 a week or $2,500 a month, and guys on $5,000 a week can afford that. Then I come out of the membership of that. I wondered what that was for. I'm going to build this huge dating website with multiple facets of things in the future, and I thought it was just research. The Holy Spirit led me to another site where the girls weren't as professional. They didn't know what they were doing. And I was a week away from leaving that site. The membership was running out, and they asked for advice. I told them their site was totally hopeless, and they gave me an extra 2 weeks free membership. In the last week of that 2 weeks friendship, I met Cindy, and I said, my initial thing, I was still addicted to prostitutes, and I said, well, wasn't a great Christian sexually. I had a sex addiction all my life, so I said I wanted a friends with benefits arrangement where 3 weeks, three times a month we'd just meet for coffee or a meal. 1 week a month we'd pay for sex. And she didn't read my profile. I just wrote that to her, and she said, that sounds great. I like that sort of arrangement, but how would I get paid? And I said, you obviously didn't read my profile. I showed her, and she said, that sounds reasonable. That's great. So we had our first date, and she was happy for $200 for 2 hours. Now, if I was paying for Amber, the girl I liked, who was 20, that would be $1,000 for 2 hours. With Cindy, it was $200. On the first date was extraordinary. She recognized in the first date that I had multiple personality disorder. She knew that I had alters. It took an expert of mine to know me for a year before she told me that. The person who heals alters She knew I had altars in our first conversation, hour and 45 minutes. Within 20 minutes of that first date, I said that she was supernatural. Within 20 minutes, I said she was extraordinary. Within 40 minutes, I said, there's something supernatural about you. She wasn't happy with the Christian faith. She'd walked back from that. She doesn't really like so much the Christian church or whatever. I was consulting a psychic at the time, which was wrong, and even Friends with Benefit was wrong. And I was consulting this psychic, thinking a psychic was as good as a prophet, and I was a bit delusional about things. I asked on the way back from that date, I perceived in the Holy Spirit that you could conquer and master any subject in the world and have mastery over it. She said I could, but I wouldn't need to. And I said, why? And she said, well, some of the experts in certain subjects are pretty good at what they do. I'd only master subjects that, that it's needed. And I said, yeah, that's like with books, I don't write a book that's already been covered really well by another author. I'll just suggest that book. And if you watch my teachings, I'm always suggesting other books. And I said, why reinvent the wheel? And she said, exactly. She told me as we left that, I said after the first date, I don't need the with benefits part anymore. We can just be friends. And I told her 3 times. 3 times she says, I want to do that benefits part with you. Anyway, the second date, we had a date, and she asked me, I wrote a whole lot of text. I didn't realise, I only found out on the 3rd date that she's dyslexic and she can't really read really well. And she didn't get high marks in the 2nd date. I found out that she asked me on the 2nd date, I'd written her a lot of text. She said, on the 2nd date, she said, what are the qualities within me that you can see in your wife? Like, why do you think I'm your wife? What can you see in me that you want in a wife? And I've written some pretty profound texts in the first week. And I shared a couple that were delusional and wrong and unscriptural. And a friend of mine picked me up on it. And she agreed that she'd do both of those things. And it was amazing in what it was. And in the second week, trying to remember the dates, the second week, I discussed that asked her if she served in a cafe, does she know how to run a restaurant and how to monitor a restaurant. She said that her ex-fiancé was a chef. She knows all about food. She knows how to manage a restaurant. I said, you didn't know how to manage the cafe? Yeah. Would you like to be able to write, would you be able to set good menus and do the marketing, advertising? She said, yeah. I said, what if you could do 6 cafes and restaurants? Would you be able to oversee them and travel and be the area supervisor? I said, yeah. I said, what about this idea? I had an idea of an escort agency just for social dating like we were doing. And she said, that's amazing. I've always thought of an escort agency. And I said, well, this one will offer escorts to have dinner and lunch and stuff and coffee. But if they want to have sex, I'll have 2 links to other escort agencies that they can go to those girls. And if they ask our girls for sex, they'll be told politely no, and if they ask twice, they won't be allowed to use our service. And she's fired up for that. And the second day, I asked her about her fiancé on the second date. She said he was compulsive liar, was always lying. She couldn't trust him. Very controlling, demeaning, and a bit of a narcissist and typical Jezebel spirit. And I was pleased that she opened up about him. It was a big question, her saying, what you expect in a wife. And our third date, we went out. The first date, when I went the first date, I said, do you want to go for dinner? She said, I don't really feel like dinner. I said, do you want to have a coffee? She said, it's hot. I prefer to have a cold drink. So we went to a pub and had a drink. On the second date, she said, just let's sit at the park. So we sat at the park. We held hands. I asked her if I could kiss her, and she said, "I'll give you a peck." And she gave me a nice kiss across the table, and as we left, she gave me a nice kiss on the lips, and it's really intimate, you know. And then on the third date, we talked, and a dog went past, and she said she loved the dog. A little child came past, and she reacted to the child. She loves animals. She loves children. I asked her why wasn't she a vet? Why, you know, she loves the animals so much. Why is she a vet? And she said, I need a 98%, 98 of 100 as a total mark. And I said, well, did you get 95 or something? She knew she was very smart. She said, no, I got about 64. And I said, why did you only get 64? You're a whole lot more intelligent than that. She said, I've got dyslexia, I can't read. And I've been written pages and pages of text. And I took a note of that. I'll just pull back on the text. I explained on the third date, the first date, I was overwhelmed that I was going to have a friend. I was overwhelmed that I was going to have a friend at 1/5 of the price that I was prepared to pay him. And I said, it doesn't seem to be about the money for you. And she said, listen, if I was just seeing you for the money, I would have taken your money and you wouldn't have seen me again. And she said, it's not about the money. I said, why do you want to keep on meeting me? She said, you've got a perspective, the way you think I've never seen in anyone else before. You're unique. And I said, I talk so much when I stay up the night before. I talk so much. And she said, you're fascinating to listen to. You're so knowledgeable. You're so interesting. You've just got such a different perspective. And she said, after a couple of hours, she said, can we move? I had an extra hour. The second date, she asked if she could leave an hour early and owe me an hour. We walked up to a car, it was out of the wind up there, and we talked for another hour up there. I finally said, why are you attracted to someone obese like me? She said, Matthew, I don't even see the weight. And, I always thought that the girl that would love me who I am. I had a pastor prophesy months ago, my last pastor, he said, that your new wife isn't going to have read your books. Your new wife is going to love you for who. I don't think your new wife will even read one of your books. And she'll love you. And it was just a remarkable, I asked about her father and what she liked about her father on the third date. And she told me he was a bit selfish. And when he pours the wine for himself, he doesn't offer anyone else, doesn't ask anyone else to want to drink. Today I met her on a date and I said, can we go to have a drink? Can I buy you a drink? And she said, prefer to sit at the beach. And it's a bit chilly. She said, it's out in the sun now, it'll be okay. So we sat out at the beach in nature. And I'm thinking 3 out of 4 dates now, she's taking me just to sit down in nature, just next to each other, not in a pub, just alone, just me and her. One at a park bench, one at a piece of concrete facing a lake, the second one on a bench facing the ocean. And I'm wondering, is she taking me to these places with nice things because she likes to be out in nature with someone she loves, or is she doing it because she doesn't want me to spend the extra $20 every time? I was asking her, could you see it? I noticed last week you'd like to have a lot of animals. I said, we can't really have an apartment on the third date. I said, where would you like an apartment? She said, in Bondi. And I said, well, that's where I'd like to live, in a high rise there. And I said, I've been thinking this week, and like animals, we really need to have a house. And she said, you can have animals in the apartment. And I said, I've got a feeling you want big dogs, you can't have a big dog in the apartment. She said, depends what you do. I can do anything. And I said, well, we might have the whole apartment block. We might own the apartment block. And she said, well, then we can set our own rules, and then we can make a lot of money out of that, renting them out to other people. And I said, yeah. And I said, with the children, I can see us going through Africa. Would you like to be like a mother over all the orphans. And she said something really surprising, another really transparent thing. She said, I grew up in South Africa, Matthew. I'm very racist. I grew up in a really racist culture. We didn't like black people, right? You know, blacks were second class, and I've still got a lot of that in me. She said, I wouldn't be interested in having a whole lot of black women, African girls, being the mother of them. I said, how about traveling through Africa and you just meeting with girls who are fashion designers and helping the fashion designers launch their brands and take their brands to the West. She said, that's fine. They're doing business. But, you know, I just want to have my own children and be with my own children. I said, what sort of children? How many children do you want? She said 3. And I said, what, any girls or boys? And she said, 2 boys and a girl. And I said, why 2 boys? You like boys more? And she said, no, the girl's got to be protected by her older brothers, you know? Her brother's got to look out for her. The boys will be the man and they'll look after the girl. I said, so 3's fine, you don't want more? She said, 3's enough. You know, I don't want my body going through too much trauma. And I said, could you handle traveling 70% of the time and us having a nanny, but a nanny that's doing homeschool and getting international, authority to homeschool our children and take them all around the world? She said, that's fine. I said, I can see myself 70%. I said, can you design fashion? She said, not really, I don't really. I said, could you oversee designers? Could you do the marketing? Could you launch the brands? Could you oversee designers? Could you run a marketing company? Sure, that'd be fine. Could you run a fashion company? Sure. I said, Amber, my former prostitute, she's going to design fashion and she's going to help the girls in Africa, help the girls in other nations design their brands. You'll wear the brands, Amber will wear the brands. A lot of women will wear these African and poor nation brands. And she said, that sounds fantastic. She, you know, I was talking to her, I said, have you got many girlfriends? I said, I've seen your 3 girlfriends on your picture with you. You know, you're 22 and they're 22, but they look like 22-year-old girls, but you're like a sage, you're like an old soul, New Age would call you. You're like 50, you're like 50 years of age with your wisdom. Young girls would be really young for you. She said, I don't really get on well with you girls. Every time I get close to a girl, something bad happens. It gets bitchy, it gets terrible. She said, I get on better with guys. I said, do the guys fall in love with you? She said, I don't let them. And I said, do you have guys friends? I said, I have guy friends. I said, do they love you? And she said, well, I don't let that enter into it. And I said, well, I'm fortunate because I love you and I'm your friend. And I said, have you got any, have you ever had friends with benefits? Friends with benefits is you're a friend, you're not girlfriend, you're friends, but you have sex whenever you want to have sex. And she said, that's my favorite form of relationships. I don't do relationships well, but friends with benefits, I've had that quite a number of times. I said, so when I asked you for that, that was right up your alley. She said, yeah, well, would have been happy with that. And I said, last week I said to you that I promised myself that my future wife, I wouldn't sleep with her. I had enough sex, hundreds of girls. I just wanted to prove to myself, if I love my future wife, I don't have to have sex until our wedding day. I said, could we just be friends? 1 year, 2 years, or whatever. And when we can get married, is that enough? Can we have sex on our wedding night? Do you need to have sex with me before you can commit to marriage? She said, not at all. I said, will you be happy just to be friends? And she said, actually, to be honest, once you start having sex with guys, it gets a bit messy. It gets a bit more controlling. You don't want a relationship, but he starts to develop feelings and stuff, and it's a bit messy when you're having sex. I said, so we could just be friends, and I said, we're here at the beach. It's coming on to summer in a couple of months. Can we come down here as friends or girlfriend and boyfriend, like friends who building a relationship. Could we come down here and could you be in a swimming costume and could I come down in some shorts and a shirt, and could you go for a swim in the ocean and come out and swim in the ocean and be all wet and hug me and I'll get wet and you're wet and I'm wet. She said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, remember I told you the girl at the psych ward, I say things that have sexual connotations. I wasn't meaning a sexual connotation about you being wet and me being wet. I was just meaning about wetness as wetness when you come out. She said, I had to ask. I wondered what you're going at it then. And I said, no. And so it was really good. And she wants 3 kids and she can see herself. And I said to her before the other day when I talked to you on Friday, I caught you on the phone. She said, what do you mean? I said, as I said goodbye, I said, I love you. And you said, I love you too, Matthew. And she smiled. And I said, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Mary, and I asked her, did she mean that as I love you as a friend? Or I love you, Matthew, as a boyfriend? And me and my friend decided, well, just take it as I love you as a friend. And who doesn't love Matthew? And if it's something more, well, then I'll hear it again sometime. And she said, I like your friend Mary. And so things are, I'm just so happy, you know. I'm so happy. I've waited 25 years for this second woman. And, you know, people who listen to this, $200 every time you meet her for 2 hours. But if I was with Amber, it'd be $1,000. She's a woman in my life, a beautiful woman. I was saying to her today, you're just so beautiful, and you're just so pretty to me. You're just so beautiful, and I just love your eyes. And she turned and looked straight into my eyes. I said last week that she had Jesus eyes, and I said today as we're walking, starting a meeting, I said last week I said Jesus eyes, and when we first met, you called your higher power it, and I didn't mean to say Jesus eyes and offend you, but I said, but when I've only ever met one other person with Jesus eyes before, and so I'll explain what it is when you look at people, they feel that you can see them. They feel that you can see everything that makes them up. They feel that you understand them, you know them. They feel loved by you. They feel understood by you. And it's not really you doing that. It's the Spirit of Jesus in you that gives you the ability just to see. And this guy, I've only met him a few times in my life, and I just knew he loved me. And I think he could see my addictions and stuff, and he just loved me anyway. And you've got those eyes. And the way I could tell is, do you have a lot of people say that they really feel comfortable, they feel understood, they feel seen by you? I said, yeah. I said, that's all your eyes. I said, do a lot of people comment on your eyes? And she said, it depends on the level of relationship. You know, it depends how we are as friends, what form of relationship. And I told her today that in the first week I was doing a lot of text. The second week I was trying to come to grips with it. The third week I was slowing down a bit text, and this week I've been a whole lot better because I've only had dyslexia. And I said, with your dyslexia, can you read everything? She said it's hard, and when I'm under time pressure or constraint, there's a lot to read and I haven't got a lot of time. She said, I'm just so busy, Matthew. I'm just so busy. I haven't got the time to read a lot. And if I haven't got the time, I just try and skim over it. But I miss things and I misread things. I can't understand things when I'm rushing. And it's just I haven't got the time to read it all. And if I'm rushing, then I don't read it all and I don't understand it. I'm sorry that I misunderstood your text that time and you got upset, but it's because there was so much and haven't had the time to read it. And when I haven't got the time, I try and skim it, but if I skim it, I I don't understand what was getting written. And, these vulnerabilities coming out. Matthew, will you accept me when I only got 62%? Matthew, will you accept me when I got dyslexia? Matthew, will you accept me when I can't do girlfriend, boyfriend? I've got to just be friends. Matthew, will you accept me when I don't do relationship well? I don't do control well. I don't have men possessing me and owning me. I don't like men owning me. Will you still love me? Will you still pursue me? If we can just be friends. I'll do your thing. We won't have sex. You do my thing. Let's just be friends. Let the money flow. Let's just build something together. And it's just so precious, It's just so precious. I told her today that I don't need to own you anymore. I don't need to have you as my wife anymore. I just want you to be in my life. I just want you to be my friend. I just don't want you to go. I just want you to be my friend. She said, I don't do being owned very well, Matthew. And we're talking about, girls and how the girls that serve me in my companies will do healing and pray for people and I said let the women who work for me, their husbands will have to agree to come with them and do what we want them to do, but the women will be more important. And she said, well, I find a good male-female relationship is they serve each other. It's like equals, serving each other. And I said, yeah, I really like that. I said, it was all my intention that I had to meet this woman, had to teach her everything that I knew. Then I had to pick her up and put her on my shoulders and let her be the star. I thought that's how it was going to go. And I said, I met you and you're already there. And you already are the star. And I want you to be my star. I want you to be the star. And I said, I can see us going and teaching and preaching, and I can see you speaking for 20 minutes and then me speaking for an hour and a half, teaching them what you taught. And you speaking for another half an hour and me speaking for another hour and sharing what you taught. And I said, have you ever been overseas and had seen a translator talking with someone? And she said, yeah. I said, well, if you're in India and there's a translator and you're in India and you know Hindi and you know English, you first hear the person speaking English in harder to understand language. And then, you get most of the message, and then spoken in Hindu, it becomes Hindi, and it becomes even more clearer. I said, that's how it will work. You'll speak, and it'll be so rich, it'll be so deep, it'll be so profound. The smarties and the deep people and the spiritual people will capture what you say. And then when I come on for the hour, I'll unpack it and I'll make it simple. And I'll make what you're profound, explain it simpler. And I said, but I even teach simple, but what I teach is profound. Like Jesus' parables, you can understand them. They're stories, that you can understand them. They're simple, but they're really deep and profound. And she says, yeah, the Bible's a lot deeper than people think it is. And he's a lot richer, a lot deeper. I said, yeah. And I said, I stopped seeing the psychic about 60% of what she said was true, and it was about, 2/3 of what she said was true, and 1/3 was error. And I thought I was doing a good job. And my friend Lisa pleaded with me. She said, stop, talking about having sex with your wife and friends with benefits, and stop thinking your wife is going to do certain things that appeal to your wounds, and I won't say that, and stop and stop doing your friends with benefits, and stop seeing the psychic, because she's leading you astray, and you shouldn't be doing that. The Bible says not to. And my friend Lisa spent 30 minutes, and she said, you should be asking other prophets, or you should be asking Jesus. You hear from Jesus and ask him for the counsel. But she did say one thing. She said that this future wife, I got a prophecy 2 weeks about, before I met you, about my future wife. This future wife will have had a faith, and she would have walked away from that faith because it let her down. She seen the hypocrisy in it. It wasn't working for her. She said she'd need me to be relationship with me, and learn Jesus and learn Christianity through me. And let me model Jesus to her. Until she's confident in me, and she's confident in my Jesus, and she's confident in my faith. And then she can reteach and recalibrate what she believes and reteach it. I think that was true about who you're going to be. We're going to go through a process of developing our own thing, developing what's true. And then you come out with 20 minutes and I'll spend an hour explaining what you shared. It was just so beautiful. I noticed she looked at her mobile phone for the time, and I said, "What have we got? About 40 minutes left?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "What are you looking at this time?" She said, "I'm just tired." She said, "That's why I'm picking these things. I'm sort of a bit tired." And I said, "Why don't we have an early night, okay? Why don't we just go now? And, you just give me a hug and give me a kiss, and we'll walk back to your car." Instead of walking to the car where I spent another hour last week, I just let her go at the curb where we left on the first day. And I gave her a kiss and a hug, and she left. And I'm going to see you again on Friday. And, I'm just hoping in the Lord will get me enough donations that I can just get $200 a month in donations that can pay for my day. And $200 a month, every second payday, I can pay $200 out of my pension. I just really hope that people can finance my wife, and she needs this transaction. I can't just be a friend. I asked her if she's got a good friend, and she says she's got a good male friend. And I said, he's not a boyfriend, hasn't been a boyfriend. Have you had sex with him? And she said, yeah, we both got drunk one night and had sex, and we thought it was a good thing. But then after it, we said we won't be doing that again. I don't want to wreck our friendship. And he agreed. And I said, well, I love you, Cindy. And if you like having sex, I'm quite willing to be in love with you and for you to be having sex with some of your friends, But just remember that I want to marry you, and when we're married, it'll be just us, okay? But I'm quite happy if you need it. And I just don't want to be the one that has to do it, because I want to keep my promise. And she said, no, sex just complicates things, Matthew. I'm starting to find, even when you try to sex with benefits, things change. And guys get a bit controlling and stuff. No, I'm happy just to be your friend, Matthew. And I don't know. She just understands me. Princess Diana in heaven, she explained Jesus' eyes, and she was talking through me. So I was just saying what she was saying, and it was just so beautiful. And I haven't reread that book, but she's just talking about Jesus and what he's like, and his eyes, and how he looks at you. And it's just Cindy. It's just Jesus in a woman. I was just meeting Jesus every week, and she knows me. She sees me. You know, on the first date, she said, you know, my fiancé was bipolar, Matthew. And she said something else, and she said that, you know, he had multiple personality disorder. Do you know what that is? That was her way of saying, have you got that, Matthew? You're sort of a little bit like him. And her way of saying, I was with him for 2 years. I was engaged. I was living with him. It was bipolar and multiple personality disorder. And you've got the same. And this is the sort of person I commit to. And she said on the first date, what made us so good is he was a genius, and we connected on intelligence. We weren't in a battle. He didn't have to be smarter than me. I didn't have to be smarter than him. Really had a good intellectual thing, and he was a wonderful lover. And then on the second date, she said he was a bit of a narcissist, and he lied, and he couldn't trust her, he was a bit controlling. So she doesn't want the liar, she doesn't want the narcissist, she doesn't want the overbearing, controlling thing. She's happy with the multiple personality. She's happy with the bipolar. But don't lie to me and don't try and control me. And just love her, you know. It's extraordinary waiting for so long. Turning down 7 women. No. Jesus said, no. Asked the woman, no. No. You know, I don't know if you know the history. I don't know who knows the history. I don't know what I've said in books, but I was engaged to this prostitute 25, 27 years ago. And she came to me one day. I used to stay at a place, and when a client came, I'd go outside and read a book. And then when the client was left, I'd come and chat to her for an hour and a half or something. Another client would come, I'd go outside. I loved it. I had a friend that was a prostitute. I loved prostitutes. I loved it. I wish you could just get on the train and say, are you a prostitute? Yeah, then we go out for a coffee. It wasn't the sex. It was the brokenness, the connection. And this prostitute and around the place, and she said, Matthew, you're Jesus. Once again, a girl that wasn't following Jesus, but was spiritual. Your Jesus told me that I can't marry you. And my eyes started filling up with tears. And I said, why? Did he say? She said, it hurt me too, Matthew. And she said, he's got a woman for you to marry in the future. And if I marry you now, you can't meet her and marry her. And he needs you to marry her. I said, all right. And she said, what are we going to do with the money that you spent the night we started our relationship? I said, well, John Farnham, famous Australian singer, and Olivia Newton-John, who played in Grease, is a singer too. And they're going to have a concert, and Anthony Warlow, who's famous opera creator, the whole 3 of them were going to sing at this concert, which was $170, about $85 for each ticket. I said, you know, we'll just add $50 to that and we'll go to that concert as friends. She said, that sounds great. And at the concert, a little girl came out and put a rose, to John Farnham, and John Farnham sort of accepted it and made a fuss of her on the microphone. And Chloe never cried because showing weakness and crying when she's getting raped gave her abusers more power. And she got emotional, but she wasn't crying, and I said, what's going on? She said, years ago I was that little girl. I gave John Farnham a flower in the early 70s. And it was just bringing that back, and it's special. So we needed to go to that concert for her to have that connection. When we got back from the concert, she said, Jesus told me I can't be your friend anymore. And then I started crying, and she said, he said that you're using me as a crutch. You need to get healing. You need to fix yourself up. And when you're strong, if you publish this book that you wrote about the prostitutes, they'll come back into your life and I'll be your friend. And your wife will be happy. I'll tell Cindy today, I've been waiting for you for 27 years. I was waiting for Cindy 5 years before she was born. She had to get to 22 just to be old enough. If she had to come 10 years before, it'd be a 42-year-old with a 12-year-old. That's more like a Muslim than a Christian. So told her I've turned 7 back, and you're the first one. As soon as I started thinking I could have a relationship, Jesus said, this isn't the one. And you're different, because when I met you, you never said you're not the one. And there's 4 dates in. We're 8 hours in. And some beautiful stuff. And I asked her when she wants to 3 children. I said, minimum 26. And she said, yeah, 26 to 28. And I said, we got, 4 to 6 years. And we can just be friends. Get married just before it, have children, get engaged, get married, have children within 18 months. Gives us about 4 years to date. Because I've been waiting 27 years, I don't need to take her to bed. I don't need to be doing passionate kisses. And certainly if you're doing passionate kisses, then, your whole hormones tank her. So it sort of suits me, and it suits her if we're going to keep our relationship pure. That it's a spiritual connection. And I'll tell you, I could just look into her eyes all day. Today was different. The first 3 days I did a lot of the talking. Today she did some of the talking. I told her I used to surf at DY. She said, I used to surf. And I said, really? I said, like, on the surfboard. And she said, yeah. I said, how long did you do that? She said, about 18 months. I said, why'd you stop? And she said, she'd moved friends or whatever, and she would have had to buy her own surfboard, and it was expensive. She used to loan someone else's surfboard. I said, it's pretty hard, it takes a lot of effort paddling around. I wasn't very fit. It's not that hard. And I said, oh, it's like harder than sex. And she said, how do you have sex? Why is it hard to have sex? And I said, well, I'm overweight. Everything's hard for me. But she said it can be taxing. I said, yeah, well, I wasn't that fit. I said, back then I was slim and I could handle it, but still paddling in and paddling out and paddling in, just so hard. So, and I told her that I, had 2 or 3 waves when I surfed that I was happy with. I said, when I played golf, there's about 5 holes I played in golf in the years I played golf that I was very happy with. And I said, I almost got an eagle one time. I got on a par 4, I got the ball in 2, and it went into the hole, and then it was going too fast, and it went that far from the hole, so I got a birdie. And she said, you almost got 2 under par, you almost got an eagle. I said, yeah. And I said, I'm happy just doing it good sometimes. And, in surfing in all the years, there was about 3 or 4 waves that I was happy with. told her about my best wave and how the best surfer in Coffs Harbour saw the wave. But I said, one thing I'm a good writer. I've written 55 books and I'm good. Got a lot of good books. They're all good. It's not just 5 waves. I've done that really well. And, you know, what sort of relationship Mary is, what sort of relationship is when you don't need her to be your wife? Never thought I'd have a relationship. She's like my Mary Magdalene on earth, man. You know, Mary, I was on the ferry coming back from Manly one day. I spent a day at Manly. It's my favourite place, right? I used to go to Manly by myself, spend time at Manly, you know. There's a song I know, not many people seem to know it. It goes, come to the water, stand by my side. I know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried. And I strove to remind you, it's for those tears you died, I died. So come to the water, stand by my side. Know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried. So when things always get too tough, I'd go down to the harbour and I'd cry and talk to Jesus. And if I was feeling extra special, I'd catch a ferry to Manly and I'd stand by that beach where she took me today, and I'd just walk along that beach crying and talking to Jesus. Now here we are at the beach in my favourite place. Anyway, one day years ago, I was catching the ferry back into Sydney from being with Jesus. And Mary Magdalene turned up on the ferry and she's talking to me, and I'm really romantic around water. And as I was talking to Mary, I leaned forward to kiss her. She backed away. She said, Matthew, I'm the bride of Christ, you know. I'm his wife. You can't commit adultery with me. She said, but I will tell you something. I said, what? She said, this girl you're going to marry in the future, she ain't no normal girl. You know how I was there for Jesus? And I said, yeah. She said, she's going to be your Mary Magdalene. She's just not a normal girl. And when I look into Cindy's eyes, it's Jesus looking at me. Well, it's the Spirit of Jesus. Probably is Mary Magdalene in Cindy. She just loves me. She just knows me. You know, I was overcome, and John Lennon and Holy Spirit and Jesus said, spend 32 hours and listen to the John Lennon audio book as you do the videos. And he said no one knew him till he met Yoko. When they hung out, she knew him. She could see him. Everyone who listened to his album. Paul McCartney, people who wrote with him, his best friends, they couldn't see him. They couldn't see, you know. Heard a quote. Heard a quote once about writers that just keep on writing and writing books, and the question in the head is, can you see me? Can you see me? Can you understand me? And Mary Gibson, you understand me at a great level, but we've spent hundreds of hours talking, and you've read my 55 books, and Cindy hasn't read a book. She hasn't watched the video, and she knows me better than you, and it's just amazing. You know, one time I was in Coffs Harbour with my parents. Whenever I went to Coffs Harbour, I was revisiting my dad, and my angry dad sort of triggered hurt in me and rejection. So whenever I was home for holidays, whenever they went out or out for the day, I'd visit a brothel. And this time I went to a brothel, and I'd had sex, I got dressed, and I was standing up away from the bed waiting for the girl to get dressed. And she was getting dressed, she was sitting on the bed, and she said, "Matthew," I said, "Yeah." She said, "You come back here, I want to give you a hug." So that's a bit strange. So I went back, and she got up and she put her top on. And she said, "I'm going to give you a hug now. I don't want you to ever forget this hug. You're a really special guy, Matthew." She gave me this hug. It's in a brothel, man. I tried to keep the tears back and said, "Thanks for that." And she walked me down to the front door and said goodbye. When the door closed, I said, "Did that really happen, Jesus?" And he said, "Did what really happen, Matthew?" Jesus always knows the answer, but he wants you to be asking questions for a reason. I said, "Did Mary Magdalene come into that girl and she just got inspired to say, 'I want to give you a hug. I want you to never forget that hug'? But was that Mary Magdalene saying that to me? Was that Mary Magdalene in the body of a girl speaking to me through a flesh body? Was that a manifestation of Mary Magdalene hugging me and saying, 'You're really special, Matthew'?" Jesus said, "Does that mess up your theology, Matthew?" And now I can see Mary's left my house. When I travel to see Cindy, Mary's with me. But when I meet Cindy, Mary's in Cindy. And you know, I don't know how it works, but when she hugs me and she kisses me on the lips, it'll be the Cindy I love, but the Mary Magdalene I adore. What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Do you need some thought? It's amazing, Mary. It's amazing, Lisa. What a story. Always wanted, when I got to heaven, I thought I was going to be one of the two witnesses and kill a third of the world. I went in a 16-year delusion, guys. I've had 3 2-week delusions since September, since I got a promotion. And 3 2-week delusions. But this one was 16 years thinking I was one of the 2 witnesses. I asked Jesus as a reward for that, if you're going to have the gift of God, grace of God, which Matthew means, if you're going to have the gift of God, grace of God, Matthew, kill a third of the world. Well, this is 2 things I want. When I finish, I just want to be the taxi driver in Jerusalem and just pick up random strangers and they say, oh man, yeah, you're. Right. So it might be a taxi, it might be an Uber by then. And when I go to heaven, when I live in heaven, I want to live next to Mary Magdalene. And when I got to my mansion in heaven, there's a picture of the woman kissing the feet of Jesus. And it's Mary, it's a picture of Mary. And when I approach it, from a certain day, I can just walk through it. And when I walk through it, I'm in Mary Magdalene's house. And her house isn't necessarily in my city, next to the river where my house is. But she's only one portal away. And I never thought I'd have Mary, the woman I love, that served Jesus and made him a man. I never thought I'd have her in a woman that I'm falling in love with. But it's Mary looking through those eyes. With this Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Jesus in her. And at a revelation, it's not a delusion. When Mary Magdalene was on earth, I was her guardian angel. I was her inspiration. I was her intuition. And now she's in Cindy. And she's like the guardian angel in Cindy. And it's just amazing. Instead of Mary Magdalene being here for Jesus, Cindy's here for Matthew. And Mary Magdalene's with Cindy, with Matthew. It's just a crazy love story, guys. It's just a crazy love story. One girl I met through the Sugar Daddy website, she had a young boy. One woman prophesied that I was going to marry this woman who had a younger boy and would be a great father for this girl's son. I put all my prophecies on the shelf. I don't get clearly directed by anything. One girl I really trusted years ago said my future wife wouldn't be normal. She'd have my gifts and my abilities. I always trusted that one to be true. Orty, my friend, who's listened to all my videos, he prophesied, I can see you having a son, and your son being like you, a mighty prophet, is also going to sit on this.
I don't set alarms.
He's
Lately I don't set alarms, but that's because of the ringing that's happening.
I got the wrong thing. I hope that doesn't block the video. The YouTube might have a problem with that. That was a different song. So yeah, it messed my line of thought up there. I had this girl that was all set up through the Sugar Daddy website. I met her. She wanted to be my girlfriend. She wanted to be the wife. She wanted me to raise a child. And she came in. She was a Christian. I sat down and talked to her, and I said, I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to become really wealthy. I'm going to preach to the world. My wife is going to preach too. She's going to be just as powerful. And you're not up to it. You can't do it. You can be a wife and you can be a good wife to me, but I need someone at my level, at my grade. And you can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to lead you on. I should have known that about you, but I know now, seeing you. And she wrote me this text saying, well, I hope that you find this girl at your level. You really hurt me, Matthew. And I could have taken that one and I wouldn't have Cindy. And the one before, United Kingdom, could have had her. I could have had Amber. Like, I was talking to my mum a couple of weeks ago on the station as I was going in to meet Cindy or going into the city, and my mum was saying Amber hasn't seen me for 6 months or something, and she's absolutely given up on seeing me. And she manifested Jezebel and said, you'll always see me, Matthew. And I said, she was saying, I've got you under my control now. You're always going to be paying to see me. And I walked out of there and Jesus said, you've got to do a minimum of 3 months without seeing her, possibly 6 months. And, the light, when I'm in your life, when I leave your life, the light goes out. And there's one sure way of making someone know that they really love you is when you leave. So the next time Amber meets me, is there's going to be a female ring and say that she wants to have a threesome with her boyfriend. And she wants to meet the escort because it's like a fantasy of a boyfriend. She wants to meet the escort and have an hour talk to her and to see if there's any chemistry between the two girls so that she can be happy to be with the escort and be with her boyfriend at the same time. So she needs to spend an hour and see if she can be into it. And Amber plays both ways and does that in her escorting. But it's a lie, well, sort of, there's always a fantasy of most guys, and it sounds like the truth. It sounds very plausible. But Amber's got a tracker on her phone, so her escort agency will know she's going to meet this girlfriend of this other guy who wants to have a threesome. But the Starbucks that they'll be meeting is at the cinema where I met Amber 4 times and we all met. And it'll be like code for Amber saying, the only other person who used to meet here was this Matthew guy, you're like, I wonder if this girlfriend, I wonder if it's the new girlfriend of Matthew's. And when she gets there, she'll walk in, and she'll meet Cindy, and Cindy will say, I think you know my boyfriend. I'll just get him to come. And she'll text, and I'll come in. I said, okay, we set you up today, Amber. Okay, we're going to build an agency where there's no sex, and all you can do is see people for $300 an hour and have dates and social dates and coffee and stuff. When we set up the agency, you'll be told about it, and you can leave and join our agency if you like. Now, here's what's going down. They only know you're meeting me. They don't know that you're meeting Matthew. And if you want to be friends with me and you want to see Matthew in the future, instead of paying you $500, I'm just one of your friends now. So on your nights off, you can just meet me as one of your friends. I'm not your client, never booked you as a client, and you can just meet me on your nights off. And maybe that you'd still have to lie about that one. Maybe I got to meet Amber and then her meet Cindy and say, this is the last time you're going to see Matthew. The only way you're going to see Matthew is if you contact him through me. So your agency just knows that you're meeting Matthew. That's probably the way it's going to happen. The agency just knows you're meeting Matthew, and you could go back to the agency and say, Matthew said this is the last time. He said goodbye. He's never going to book me through this agency again. So you can give him the bad news, but whenever you want to see Matthew, just text me, and you can come to my place, or we can meet up and on your nights off, and you can see Matthew. And by the way, we're going to start an agency, and when we have, and that's good, because I did a blueprint over Amber, her life, and she's going to raise up all the fashion designers in Africa, and she's got a desire to design fashion herself. So she's going to be one of the fashion designers that Cindy will manage, and together Cindy and her will manage and do a lot of things. And it's just so beautiful. And so there was a reason for Amber, because Amber's in my future. Amber's going to head up the intercessors, my team that, pray for people in the stadium. Amber's going to be the head over all those girls and stuff. So Amber's not a Christian at the moment. Amber's got a Jezebel spirit at the moment. But Amber's beautiful. I told Amber, if she's not going to be my wife, she'll always be like my PA. She'll be really close to me and work with me. And she agreed. She will. She always will be. So it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I thought I'd share this story with you. And I won't talk anymore. But I hope you enjoyed this. God bless.